When we bought our used 2007 Coachmen Freelander a few years ago, it still had the original roof vent fan. And to be fair to that fan, it technically worked. It opened, it closed, it moved some air. What it also did was make a rattling hum at anything above low speed that sounded less like ventilation and more like a small engine slowly giving up on life. The bigger issue, though, was rain. There was no rain cover, which meant that anytime it was raining, ironically exactly when you want airflow, the vent had to stay closed. No ventilation, windows fogging up, and the motorhome slowly turning into a very expensive terrarium. So eventually, I decided it was probably time. In this video, I'll walk you through the full replacement of that roof vent fan, from removing the old unit, to dealing with an unexpected fit issue inside, to getting everything sealed up properly on the roof. I'll cover the fan I chose, the materials I used, the tools you'll need, and the steps that didn't go exactly according to plan. Let's get into it. Before I get into the install itself, I want to spend a minute on the why. Because the buying decision for a roof vent fan isn't simple as it looks. The obvious answer is the old fan was 18 years old, noisy and due. But the specific thing that finally made me pull the trigger was the rain issue. On past trips, we had several stretches of rainy days and humid climates. Every time it rained, the fan became useless. I couldn't open the lid without soaking the interior. So we'd sit there with the motorhome, slowly getting stuffy while it rained outside, which is not exactly the dream. So when I started shopping for a replacement, rain protection was my top requirement. And once you start looking at roof vent fans with rain shields, you run into one name immediately: the MaxxAir fan. The MaxxAir is basically the gold standard of RV roof fans. It's got a built-in rain shield, it's quiet, it works great. It's also about $400. $400 for a vent fan felt like a lot, especially since I was going to be doing this install myself on a 2007 motorhome that still had its original everything. I wasn't sure I needed gold standard. I needed functional, quiet, and rainproof. So I kept looking and landed on the HURRVENTER, which has a built-in rain shield that lets you run the van even with the lid closed. It comes in both manual and remote control versions, and it costs right around $125. That's a significant difference. I want to be clear that I'm not saying the HURRVENTER is the same class as the MaxxAir. I have no idea if it'll last 18 years, but for the price point, for a Class C that's already got 80,000 miles on it, and for a relatively straightforward installation, it made sense to me. Before we get to the install, here's everything I used. All of it's linked in the description below. The fan itself, the HURRVENTER built-in rain shield RV roof fan vent, the sealant, Dicor 501 LSW self-leveling lap sealant. This is the one you want for a horizontal application. It flows into the gaps and self-levels, which is exactly what you need when you're sealing around something on a roof. Don't substitute standard caulk here. RV roofs flex when you drive, and you need a sealant that can move with it. Dicor is the standard for a reason. Next, Dicor butyl seal tape. This goes between the new vent and the roof membrane as a compression seal before the lap sealant goes on top. Think of it as the first line of defense. The lap sealant is the second. You want both. And finally, acetone solvent cleaner. You'll need this to clean the roof surface before the new vent goes on. Tools-wise, you'll need a standard screwdriver, a putty knife, or plastic scraper for the sealant removal, and a jigsaw with a fine-tooth blade. I'll explain what that's for. I unboxed the HURRVENTER on my garage workbench before taking anything near the RV. This is actually a habit I'd recommend for any install like this. You want to know what you're working with before you're on the ladder. Out of the box, the fan comes with the vent unit itself, the interior housing that mounts to the ceiling, the mounting hardware, and the rain shield cover. The lid is smoke tinted, which I liked because it's less glaring light in the living room where we watch our TV. First impression, the build quality felt reasonable for the price. It's not going to feel like a premium product when you hold it, but everything was intact, nothing rattled around the box, and the controls felt solid. The speed selector and direction switch were clean. Alright, I'm up on the roof. I want to take a moment here to acknowledge that getting on the roof of a Class C motorhome is a real activity. The Freelander has a ladder at the rear, and the roof is rubber membrane. You walk carefully, you stay near the structural supports, and you don't rush. The first order of business was removing the old Dicor lap sealant from around the existing vent. And I'll be straight with you. This is the part of the job that nobody films in a satisfying way because it's just tedious. There's no technique that makes it fast. You're scraping old sealant off a rubber membrane with a putty knife, and it comes off in chunks and strings and little bits that go everywhere. The key thing is to be gentle. You're not trying to sand the roof. You're trying to separate the old sealant from the membrane. A plastic scraper is safer than a metal one for this reason. Metal can nick the membrane if you get aggressive with it, and nicked rubber roof is a much bigger problem than a noisy fan. Get as much of the old sealant off as you can around the perimeter. You don't have to be perfect yet. There's a cleaning step with acetone later that handles the residue. For now, you just want a bulk of it gone so the screws underneath are accessible. Now we go inside. With the sealant cleared away, the next step is removing the interior trim and housing so we can get at the wiring and free up the vent from both sides. The interior of our Freelander fan had two main components: a trim ring that screws into the ceiling panel, and the housing itself that contains the fan motor and wiring. Every RV is a little different here, so take a look at what you have before start pulling it apart. One thing I'd strongly recommend before you disconnect anything, take a photo of the wiring. Just pull out your phone and photograph exactly how everything is connected before you touch it. I've done enough of these jobs now that I know future me is always grateful when past me does this. The wiring on an 18-year-old RV fan is not complex. Typically a positive, a negative, and sometimes a ground. But it's much easier to reconnect correctly if you have a reference. Once I had the housing loose, I disconnected the wiring and set the interior components aside. The goal here is just to get to the point where nothing inside the RV is attached to the fan anymore. So when we go back up on the roof to pull the vent, it comes out clean. Back up on the roof, with the sealant off and the interior components disconnected, I can now see the screws that hold the vent down to the roof. These are around the perimeter of the flange. Get them all out and set them aside somewhere they won't fall off the roof, which is a real concern. Here's where patience matters again. Even with all the screws out, the old vent didn't just lift up. It had been sitting on butyl seal tape for 18 years, and that tape had essentially welded itself to the roof membrane. The vent was stuck. The way to deal with this is slow, deliberate prying, working around the perimeter gradually. Don't just jam a screwdriver under one corner and lever up hard. That's how you tear the rubber membrane. Work a plastic tool or a wide putty knife around the edge, applying gentle upward pressure in multiple spots, and let the tape release slowly. It took me a few minutes of patient work, but eventually the suction released, and I was able to lift the old vent out of the opening completely. Before I commit to any install, I always dry fit first. And on this job, I'm really glad I did. Up on the roof, the new HURRVENTER dropped into the existing 14x14 opening without any issues. Good fit as expected. So I went back inside to test fit the interior housing. And that's where I ran into a problem. The new housing was 3 to 4 inches taller than the old one. Now this isn't a defect. It's a known variable in RV installations. Different motorhomes have different ceiling thicknesses, different distances between the roof deck and the interior ceiling panel, and manufacturers design their housing for a range of ceiling depths. My Freelander apparently has a shallower ceiling depth than the housing was designed for, so the bottom of the housing would have sat 3 to 4 inches below my ceiling line if I had installed it as is. That's not a look anybody wants, so I was going to need to trim the housing. I'll get into how I did that in a moment. But first, I want to talk about something I did before I got to that point, which is that I tested the fan while everything was still dry fit. This is one of those things that seems almost paranoid, but I cannot recommend enough. Before you fully install and seal anything onto your roof, plug the fan in and confirm it actually works. I temporarily reconnected the wiring to the new unit and ran through the speed settings and direction modes. Everything checked out, fan ran, air moved in both directions, and controls worked. Why does this matter? Because Dicor lap sealant is not easy to remove. If you skip the test and seal the vent down and then discover the motor doesn't work, you've made a significant problem for yourself. Dry fit, test, then commit. It costs you 5 minutes and potentially saves you hours. With the dry fit confirmed and the fan tested, it was time to actually seal everything down. And this is probably the most critical part of the whole job to get right, because the roof is where water intrusion happens if you make mistakes. First step, acetone. I cleaned the entire area around the opening, the roof membrane where the new vent's flange was going to sit, with acetone on a clean rag. What you're doing here is removing the residue left behind by the old butyl tape and sealant. Even if it looked clean after the scraping step, there's oil and adhesive residue that the membrane that will prevent a good bond with the new butyl tape. The acetone takes it all off. Give it a minute to fully evaporate before you proceed. You don't want to be laying tape onto a wet surface. Next, butyl tape. This goes around the perimeter of the vent opening on the underside of the new vent's flange. It's a compression seal. When the vent screws down onto the roof, it compresses the butyl tape, which fills in microgaps between the flange and the membrane. Press the tape firmly as you go and make sure you're getting full coverage all the way around. Then, set the vent into the opening and drive the screws down around the perimeter. Don't over-tighten. You want the tape to compress, but you're not trying to crush it. Snug is good. Now, Dicor self-leveling lap sealant. This goes around the entire perimeter of the vent flange, covering all the screws and all the exposed butyl tape. Apply it generously. The self-leveling formula will flow and fill, which is what you want. It'll settle into small gaps on its own. Give it a good beat all the way around. This is not the place to be stingy. Back in the workshop to deal with the housing height problem. The fix was straightforward in concept. I needed to cut the bottom section of the housing down so it would sit flush with my ceiling line instead of protruding below it. The key is measuring carefully before you cut, because you're working with plastic and there's no putting it back once it's gone. I measured the gap between the ceiling panel and the roof deck, subtracted where I wanted the housing to land, and marked my cut line on the housing with a marker. Go slow here. Measure twice. I use a jigsaw with a fine-tooth blade to make the cut. After the cut, I sanded the cut edge with medium grit sandpaper to remove any burrs or rough spots. The final step was getting back inside the motorhome and buttoning everything up. I reconnected the wiring to the new fan using the photo I'd taken at disassembly as my reference. Then the trimmed housing went up into the ceiling. Most RV fan housings attach to the ceiling panel with screws that go through the housing flange and into the surrounding ceiling material. Once the housing was in tight, I put the trim ring back on, which covers the edge of the housing and gives the whole thing a finished look. So, how has it actually been? We ran this fan through about 9 weeks of travel after the install, through multiple climates, high desert, Gulf Coast humidity, and even some southern storms. It has done exactly what I asked it to do. It's quiet, significantly quieter than the old fan at every speed. The controls are responsive, and on rainy days, the specific situation that made me replace it in the first place, we could actually run the fan with the lid closed and move some air through the motorhome. It's not as powerful in that configuration, but it works, and that's the point. Build quality, it still looks and functions exactly as it did on install day. I can't tell you how it'll hold up a year, 5 or 10, but so far I've had no complaints for a $125 fan. All the parts and materials I used are linked in the description below. Those are affiliate links, which means if you use them to buy something, the channel gets a small commission at no extra cost to you. It's one of the ways we keep things going. If you found this useful, the best thing you can do is subscribe so you don't miss any future DIY RV episodes or our travel content. New episodes post on Fridays. And if you have questions about this install, about the HURRVENTER specifically, or about the ceiling trim issue, drop them in the comments. I read them and I try to respond to all comments. Thanks for watching. We're still chasing our dreams, just with a better vent fan now.